I've always had an interesting relationship with 360 cameras. While they are always a unique way to film pretty much anything, I just found it a little bit difficult to figure out where it would fit in my workflow. And also, and I've said this many times, I am not an extreme sports person, so you won't be seeing me on like scooters or bikes or cliff jumping or anything like that. But nowadays, with their flagship 360 camera, Insta360 is looking to appeal to more people like me. People who may not often be in those more extreme sports-like scenarios, but still want to have the flexibility that a 360 camera can provide. And how are they doing that? By leaning into the main character even more. Of course, that would be me. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here's a look at the Insta360 X4. Before I share my experience with this camera, I do want to give a quick shout out to Insta360 for letting me try their newest flagship camera, the X4, and for partnering with me on this video. As I just said, I'm not a big sports or crazy outdoor type, but by now you're probably familiar with how those scenarios fit in with a camera like this. And Insta360 themselves also told me that those types of users are like a portion of the people who can benefit from a camera like this. I'm inclined to believe them even more now after the time that I've spent with the X4. So in order to show the practical everyday usability, I went ahead and brought the camera with me to my local arboretum for a bit and then kind of on a work trip to the Specialty Coffee Expo. That's right, we vlogging today, but I am someone that likes to record and have what they call full coverage. And with a 360 camera, that's something that you can get. And this camera is going to work pretty well for vlogging scenarios because Insta360 have updated the two sensors of their latest 360 camera to record 4K video when in single lens mode. Simply put, you have really good super wide angle lenses on either end of this. That way you can get either a first person perspective of anything that's in front of you or just get the more like traditional vloggy style video using the front. And that's how I ended up using the camera for most of my time at the expo, even handheld like I would with any smartphone. Sure, the selfie stick is going to be a mainstay of 360 camera experiences, but it's really nice that going handheld on here still opens up some possibilities. And that's all helped along by the comfortable design of the camera. The X4 is very similar to the X3, right down to the larger screen up here on the front, but the X4 still gives a nice sense of durability with all its textured plastic all over the place, so clearly this will be able to withstand the elements. There is a dive case that gives the camera even better protection when you go into the depths, but again, I'm not a diver. Besides, the camera is already waterproof up to 10 meters on its own. What I do appreciate are the included covers. You have this black silicone one that just slides right onto it, and then in the box there are actually two extra covers that slot right onto either lens. That's right, these included lens protectors no longer use adhesive, they now screw onto the business ends of the X4. Now you do have to bear in mind that these are not perfect seals, so some particles or some liquid or some moisture can actually get inside of the lens protectors, but they are pretty easy to just take off and put back on. You might find that it's best to take them off when you're trying to get, let's call them, mission critical footage. That way any imperfections that might be on the lens protectors won't show up in the actual footage. And if you haven't noticed, the ones that I just put onto here are actually the premium lens covers. This is a separate accessory and they're even more dome shaped, made specifically as clear as possible to be used while filming. But the same considerations apply. You might want to take these off sometimes to make sure that your footage is as clear as possible. And also I do want to mention this, the silicone cover does fit over the lens protectors as well, including the premium ones. Coming back to the camera, we can talk about the interface here that is easy to navigate using this large touchscreen. You'll be able to go through all of the various settings. If you swipe over, you can actually change up the settings of the exposure and the quality settings and whatnot, and then if you just tap in the bottom corner, that's where you get to all of the different modes. And it is good to use this to frame up, especially when you're using single lens mode, because obviously when you're using 360 video, you can always frame things up later in post. By the way, just so you know, I filmed pretty much everything here in the video mode. I didn't go into too many of the other features here, but these are all familiar to anyone who has been following Insta360 cameras for the last few years. I also used the auto settings, only changing the exposure compensation to be maybe like minus 0.3 or 0.7 because these sensors can come in a little bit hot on the footage, a little bit overexposed from time to time. But as I said before, the camera's doing more to support the main character in a vlogging scenario, and a good example of how it's doing that is with the Me mode. The Me mode is actually not new. It was in the previous X3 camera, but I've really been enjoying trying it out. It's just trying to make life easier by doing the framing for you so you don't have to do it in post. Essentially, it's trying to look at the bottom half of the camera, so the side where the selfie stick would be, and it's going to track whoever is actually holding the camera. And of course, Insta360 works their magic to remove the actual stick from the footage. Essentially, this is a tracking shot. I actually used this for an upcoming video talking about my everyday carry, and I wanted to show off the EDC backpack. If you do have a two-person setup, the top half of the camera's field of view can be used to track people as well, for a more traditional tracking perspective. Obviously, you're going to have the best results by using the selfie stick, and as it says in the app, when I trigger the me mode, you kind of just have to keep it level, that way it'll be able to get the right perspective of whoever you're tracking, whether it's yourself or somebody else. It's just nice to get into this mode and to get these kinds of shots without having to pop into the app or the studio editor to do it myself. But that being said, it's easier than ever to get the edits done because Insta360's already robust mobile app can do automatic framing and edits conveniently. In 360 video, the main thing that I would do is press and hold on myself to use Deep Track 3.0. It basically keeps me as the center of attention and will use the tracking in order to keep me in the frame. And then all of the other ways of framing in the app are still here, including one of my favorites, literally moving the phone around to get the right perspective. It's actually easier than keyframing, which can be a little bit of a tedious task, in my opinion.
Alright, for this next part, I'm actually going to just use the single lens modes to do some proper vlogging. After all, you have really good wide-angle 4K video recording capable lenses on here. I'm also going to use the free frame mode for this because by vlogging with these sensors, I'm going to get the full area of the sensor and be able to manipulate it pretty much any way that I want. The main way is that the videos that I get today, I'll be able to make into a 16:9 video like you're seeing right now for YouTube, but I'll also get footage that I can make into vertical 9:16 video for social media. So that's the level of capability that you can have with these kinds of sensors made for a 360 camera.
In the vlogging bit, you can hear my voice coming through pretty well, and I gotta give that up to some good onboard mics that further support the vlogging scenario. Of course, if the camera was much farther away, it would be harder to hear me, but that's where Insta360's good accessory support comes into play. For example, there is the mic adapter, which allows you to put your own microphones in for better audio. And then the other main accessories are ones that you're probably familiar with, like the bullet time stick that lets you spin the camera around and get slow motion craziness. I did not use that for this video, but what I did use is the extended selfie stick. This is a 10-foot selfie stick, and you can just imagine what use cases this would be able to bring up. All right, so here's a perfect example. I'm at the Coffee Expo right now, and much like any other trade show like CES or whatnot, there's certain types of footage that I always feel like I want to get, but I just don't have the tools for it. For example, you wouldn't really be able to like fly a drone here. It would be flying low, it would be loud, and obviously we're indoors. But then with the 10-foot extended selfie stick, it's actually a little bit more possible. And you can emulate drone footage by using a 360 camera, which is pretty dope. And also, I was not lying that this is a 10-foot stick. This thing is wild. All right, let's go. This is where things got pretty fun with the kind of 360 footage that these cameras are made for, and it turned out pretty practical for footage that I've always wanted to try getting. The footage might be a little bit bouncy because I'm literally stepping around the convention floor, but it's still a perspective that I would not have been able to get otherwise. And it's even better when using the X4 for all of this footage because I'll be pulling 4K clips out of it both in vertical and landscape orientations, since there is now 8K total resolution to work with in the updated camera. That's right, the two 4K lenses come together to provide that full 8K resolution for 360-degree video, which is great to see and use in an easy-to-use form factor. And since the 360-degree footage gives me full coverage, I can pull multiple clips from multiple perspectives, all from the same video file. You know what, that's something that Insta360 have always been really good at, opening up the possibilities with their cameras that are much smaller than the typical ones that we might end up using. It really just comes down to your own imagination, and to remember that this small camera and its lenses can get up close and personal with things that bigger cameras would not be able to. Or at least when it would be harder to do so. It's just great that Insta360 have made sure the X4 can put out video at resolutions that are super practical. You have the full 8K resolution in 360 video for pretty easy and high quality reframing, and then you can still have 4K for the more traditional single lens vloggy captures. And of course, the powerful app and studio editing software are there so you can get as creative or as crazy as you might want. The latest Insta360 X4 is available now alongside all of the different accessories that really round out the 360 camera experience. You can check it all out using the links in the description down below. Let me know what you would use a 360 camera like this for, and I'm just happy that, well, with this 360 camera, I actually have some practical use case scenarios for my kind of filming. I want to give a big thanks again to Insta360 for hitting me up to check out their new camera and for sponsoring this video. From there though, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again today. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody. I know I was at a coffee expo, but there was actually a lot of tea there, so enjoy your tea, everybody.